All right, my second graders. Today is the fun day. We get to paint. So you can use any kind of paint you have. If you don't have paint, just use markers. We're basically going to recreate the color wheel within this eyeball. So we have gone in and used some crayons and created the skin around the eye. I did a fairly light color because my skin tone is really light. You can use darker colors. You can even mix colors. I do that a lot with skin tones where I'll mix a light like apricot with a brown color or a tan color, and I crisscross them like this. I call it cross hatching, and that gives me a much more realistic skin color. I'm going to use some liquid paint today. This is called tempera paint. It's poster paint, and I'm going to use 3 colors. I have red, yellow, and blue. Now my blue, it's hard to see because my camera picks up color a little bit weird, but it's actually more of like a turquoisey blue than it is like a royal blue. And that's because it gives us a better mix when we go to do that. So I'm going to start with a clean, dry brush. Got a little bit of paper towel here, and I'm just going to blot it. Sometimes I pull my brush through so that it's nice and pointy. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my primary color, which is going to be red. You can pick any primary color to start, and we're going to fill in one of the pie pieces. Now if you ended up with 8 pie pieces instead of 6, what you'll do is you'll paint 2 red. And that way we can just sort of balance it out a little. Now I'm going to clean my brush really well, swish it in the water. I'm never tapping it because that sprays our water. I'm just going to gently pull it through on my brush here, or on my paper towel. Next I'm going to go and put my yellow in, and I'm going to skip a space. So each time we put in a new primary, we're going to skip a space, and that's because in between a primary or 2 primaries is always a secondary color. So I've got my red, I'm going to put in my yellow, and then next I'm going to swish, drag, and blot. And then I'm going to skip a spot and go in with my blue. Okay. Now that I've got my 3 primary colors in, I can go in and start mixing my secondary colors. So the secondary colors are going to go between the 2 colors that get mixed to make them. So if I mix red and blue, I'm going to take just a little bit of each color because I need to say I can't take more than half because I need half of the blue to mix with red and half of the blue to mix with yellow. So I'm going to start a little bit at a time, a little bit of red and a little bit of blue, and see how it works. And I may have to keep mixing. So here I've got a nice purple. So in between red and blue we get purple. So I'm going to go ahead and paint that color that I just mixed right in between the 2 that I used to mix it. And it does paint dark, but the colors usually lighten up as they dry. So my purple will be a little bit lighter once it's dry. All right, now I'm going to give my brush a good clean, and I'm going to go between the red and the yellow. Now red is a powerful color. We talked about this last year during the Lunar New Year. We talked about what a power color it is. You'll notice it's always used on superhero uniforms, Spider-Man, Superman, they're always red costumes. So we want to make sure that we just take a teeny bit of red and mix it in with our yellow. If you use too much red, it takes a lot to turn it orange. See? So you're just going to use a little bit of red and a whole lot of yellow, and so that we can get our orange. All right, got a pretty nice orange here, and again, I'm only using about half my yellow, and I'm going to put my orange between my red and my yellow because those are the two colors I use to mix orange. Okay. Now I'm going to spin this around a little bit. Swish. Really clean my brush. Drag. Blot. Trying to get all that orange off. Now I'm going to again take my yellow into the middle here. I'm going to bring a little bit of blue over and see how my green turns out. That's a nice green. Okay, and that green is going to go between my blue and my yellow because I use those two colors to mix it. All right, now I've got my rainbow. And you've probably noticed that my paint tray is a rainbow too. We've got our whole color wheel happening here, just like on my paper. So what happens is that instead, the color wheel is called a wheel because the colors go round and round. Unlike a rainbow, which starts at red and like purple, purple is made by mixing red and blue. So we can't just end it on purple and start it on red because purple needs that red in order to make it. So it's a color wheel. It just goes around and around and around. Now you can do the same kind of mixing with watercolor. You can take the two colors out of the palette, and the lid itself works as a little mixing palette. So you can do like I did with my tempera paints on my plate. You can do the same thing in the lid of your watercolors and see what turns out. Now, some of my students, my very curious students, wanted to know what happens if we mix them all together. So I will give you the satisfaction of knowing. And this isn't going to be perfect because I have a lot of red on my paper and not a lot of yellow. So it's going to tend to look a little bit more red than normal, but if I were to mix it all together, it should come up somewhere in the brown family. It's a little bit purple because I don't have a lot of yellow. So it's sort of a brownish purple because we have so much red and blue and not enough yellow to even it out. But it's there. There we go. That's pretty brown. Sort of like a, yeah, it's still a brownish purple. See if I can tip it a little, see if I can show you any of the better colors. So, all right, my friends, let this dry, take a picture, and I can't wait to see your color wheel. Like I said, if you don't have paint and you can't mix it, no big deal. Just do the rainbow around and circle so that we can remember that when we mix red and yellow, we get orange. When we mix blue and yellow, we get green. When we mix blue and